Great flight here from Salt Lake, nonstop, pretty not bumpy, and one of the things I really like to do on a flight is take out the Sky Mall magazine and see what the latest thing that I really don't need might be available. It's just such an interesting magazine full of things that you couldn't imagine people would think up. And I like to read through it. I work a little bit with catalogs at work, and so I like to look through and see how do they catch your attention with the headlines. And one of the headlines that caught my attention early on, some time ago in the Sky Mall magazine, was this one. Now unsightly sock lines can be a thing of the past. This sort of excited me, even though I wasn't really sure what an unsightly sock line was. In my world, an unsightly sock line is if the hem of your skirt doesn't quite meet up with the top of your knee-high pantyhose. But I know how to overcome that unsightly sock line. I just still like to wear the full-on pantyhose. So it wasn't that. I had to read what it was. Well, it turns out that if you are careless enough to go out in the sun in ankle socks for an extended period of time, and then you take the socks off and your feet are white, that is an unsightly sock line. And the remedy for that, for only $199.99, is a device called the Tootsie Tanner. You think I'm making this up, but I am not. The Tootsie Tanner is a sun lamp for your feet that you then can bake your feet under to eliminate the unsightly sock line, which seems to me fraught with peril. For example, what if you don't get the line exactly right? And you have an overlapping part where it's a little darker. That's unsightly, it seems like. Or if you bake your feet too long, do you have to put the socks back on and go out in the sun again? I don't see how that really works, so I didn't order a Tootsie Tanner. But another product that caught my eye from the headline was, "Dine with children worry-free." I thought, marvelous, what have they come up with? Some kind of soundproof barrier so I don't have to listen to the whining about what I'm serving for dinner or the fighting between the children, the infighting. Maybe just a little cubicle, blinders or something so that they can't see that child A has one more dinosaur chicken nugget than child B got. I have become, since becoming a mother, an obsessive counter of things. When I fill plastic Easter eggs at Easter time, not only does every child get the same number of Skittles in the egg, I count the red ones, the green ones, the yellow ones, the purple ones. We're not having any fights over Skittle favoritism at my house. But this evidently is not what you need to dine with children worry-free, in case you're wondering. What you need, according to Sky Mall magazine, is plastic seat covers for your dining room chairs. To which I want to say, who thinks it's a great idea to combine upholstered dining room chairs and children in the same household to begin with? And if the state of your dining room chairs is your biggest worry when you're dining with your children, you're really going to be in trouble down the road, if you're not already. It's just an interesting thing about the products in the Sky Mall magazine, and indeed most of the products that society sells us today. It's all about appearances. It's all about how things look on the surface. I don't want to undermine the importance of that. Appearances can be important. If we went to General Conference and one of our leaders stood up in a polo shirt to address us, we'd be like, "Woo," wouldn't we? It's not that there's anything wrong with the polo shirt. I'll bet some of those men own polo shirts. Maybe. But they don't wear them there because there's a certain expectation that we have, a way to convey the sacredness of that occasion to us, and they generally do it with a certain kind of dress. How things look can be an outward manifestation of an inner commitment. That can be pretty important. Sometimes, though, we spend so much time on the outward manifestation that we forget to form the inner commitment. Have you ever noticed that? That sometimes we're just so busy keeping up appearances that we forget what really was important about coming to sacrament meeting, and it wasn't necessarily that all the children had matching shoes. Although that can be important too. But sometimes we put all our energy into looking good instead of coming and learning and being good. Worst of all, there are people in the world who fake an inner commitment by an outward manifestation. That's the problem with appearances. We talked earlier about how they shift so rapidly, but another problem is that they're not something that we can always trust. But don't the scriptures say, by their fruits you shall know them? And so isn't it important that at least the world see that our fruits, our little children, our families are turning out well? Could I suggest another way a little bit to think about that? Have you ever tasted a fruit that's not ripe? A green apple, a hard strawberry, a cantaloupe that got picked too soon is icky, huh? It's disappointing. If you thought that was the fruit, you might think it was bad. Sometimes the problem with judging ourselves by appearances, or judging specifically our parenting by appearances, is we forget to wait for the fruit to ripen. And some of those children of ours are just little slow ripening fruits. It just takes longer than we think sometimes for some of those things to come to fruition. And so, in the meantime, appearances are a very shaky ground upon which to base our self-worth in any situation.